everybody, and welcome back to my channel for this Monday morning, afternoon or evening across the world where you may be at. And today I've got a more personal topic for you. It's autism and poetry and the reason why I write poetry. So let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. So the reason why I write poetry was suggested by my Autism Diagnostic Service social worker, and at the time I was part of a autism diagnostic support group for newly diagnosed autistic people. I was giving a talk and someone said to me, "How do you keep so calm, Gemma? Like, what do you do each day to keep yourself calm?" So I kind of said, I write my journal and I help myself to be calm. I go through my emotions and try and list them in the best way that I can. So then my autism social worker turned around and said to me, "Gemma, why don't you try and write poetry?" And at first I was kind of really hesitant and laughed. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, why would I do that? Why would anyone listen to me? So then I kind of took her advice, went home that day and started writing down my emotions, how I was feeling, and kind of putting the words together on a bit of paper, and I kind of left it at that. And then I started doing it day after day after day, just jotting down odd words like anxiety, depression, scared, nervous, upset, angry, frustrated, that kind of words. And then I started putting them together in sentences. And then by that time, it kind of started adding up to how I could get my feelings out in a safe but yet constructive context. And I started writing them down every day in a journal, like a diary entry. So I started doing that, and I found each time that I was doing the diary and journal entries, that each time I could become more better and include more words. So then I wrote back to my social worker and said, I think this is working. I think it's a way that I'm going to use as self-therapy to control and regulate my emotions. Because at the time, I didn't know how to regulate myself. I was very up and down, flippant with my emotions. I was very rude. I'd phone people, be very aggressive. I'd be quite confrontational, scream, shout, yell, cuss, all that kind of stuff. And then she said, how about you focus on your poetry? Like, write down your emotions, Gemma. Keep on track with what you want to try and do, and keep it as a way of self-regulating. And at that time, I didn't know it was known as stimming. And stimming is self-soothing behaviour. So I started using my poetry as a stim. I started controlling my regulation, my emotions, my breathing, and then I figured it out it'd be a good way to keep myself self-regulated and held to account. So I've kept on doing it over the years. It takes practice. It's an everyday meditative practice. So I sit here, I get my notepad out, which I can actually show you right now. Give me a second. So yeah, I have my notepad here right with me. And then I have my pencil case with all my pens in, so I sit here and write down my emotions, how I feel. And as you can see, my poetry folder is right next to me on my sofa, as I have it every day. I sit there and I file the poems that I write, and that helps to self-express how I feel at the time. And a lot of people don't know that it's a way that I just choose to self-regulate and to calm down to feel better. And as someone on the autistic spectrum, I struggle to self-regulate my emotions. It's took me years to get to a point where I'm able to safely do it instead of exploding at people. Because before, I would call people, text people, email people, and be like, "Ah!" And now I don't do that. I'm able to self-regulate. I'm able to control my emotions, the way that I feel, the way that I act, and do it in a more self-contained way. And I'm able to focus on what I want to achieve in my poetry. And also I do it as a way to help newly diagnosed autistic people who may not know how to self-regulate or know that there is a way to write down their emotions. And I think that's another way that I feel I can help people, is to self-regulate their emotions. And especially if you're new autistic spectrum diagnosed, it's very hard to know how to feel, what to say, what to do. And I think a lot of people don't understand it, that writing isn't a bad thing. Writing is a really good thing for someone on the spectrum, because again, it helps me to be very creative. It helps me to keep a focus. It helps me to become more of myself. And over the years, I've learned to work with people, collaborate. So I have been collaborating with my local autism diagnostic service. I often take my poetry to their diagnostic support groups. Well, I was before COVID hit. But, that all stopped, and now we do it online. So I tend to read my poetry online to people who may be newly diagnosed, or I pre-record poetry for them. And then recently I started meeting up with my BBC Radio Suffolk friend, John Wright, who is a local DJ for the station. And I started following him on Twitter a few years ago after he followed me, because I didn't know who he was. And then over the years, we've kind of become really close friends. And we do a lot of mental health, autism, poetry work together. And he has got me into the studio on more one occasion where I'm able to self-record my poetry, and we often meet up in the park, go for a walk and a hot chocolate, and we talk about anything that's on my mind that needs to come out. And usually that is me reading my poetry that I've written in my folder that's behind me. And usually I'll record 3, 4, or 5 at one time, and then he separates them and puts them in to his shows when he goes live. Usually I believe it's a Tuesday night or a Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong there, John, but yeah, I usually pre-record them for his shows. And again, without these people supporting me and my family as well, I'm very lucky I have the correct support network, and writing's just become a really good passion of mine. It's become something that I'm safe with. I don't have to worry about hurting myself or hurting other people or potentially triggering people. There may be some topics in my poetry that you think, would Gemma discuss that? But again, it's about self-therapy, my emotions, my self-regulation, deconstructing myself. So yeah, it's just something that I've chosen to do over the past few years, getting to know myself and helping other people. And also it's just something that I've done to keep my depression at bay, my anxiety. And also I do it because I am inspired by some local poets called Rudyard Kipling and Michael Morpurgo, who I will attach some of their books down below so you can go and check them out. But they do some really deep emotional poetry and talk about their life experiences, so I'm kind of inspired by what they talk about. And as an autistic woman, I found my niche. I found something that I'm good at, and I can keep on doing it to self-control myself and to help other autistic people find their writing passions, their writing styles, because again, everyone on the autistic spectrum is different. I'm very high functioning and I'm able to control myself a lot better. But like I said, it's taken practice, it's taken years. It's taken me to figure out what emotion is which. So every day I can be different. One day I can be super happy and woohoo. And then the next day I'm like, stay the fuck away from me because I've had a really bad day and overloads, meltdowns, sensory shutdowns. But yeah, I just thought I would talk about why I do poetry, and I hope this is explained how I use it to my benefit and my advantage. I do write my own poetry. I do have a poetry playlist here on the channel. If you wish to check that out, I will link it down in the description. But yeah, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will be back next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!